Everyone, welcome back to my channel Armor Gaming, and welcome back to the first analysis of today. That's right, I'm going to be doing two analyses today. And first off, we have a monster everyone has been requesting for a long time, Ogma. You have every right to be amazed at the sight of Ogma. We were wowed ourselves when he landed on Monster Legends. He's a godlike warrior capable of taking his team to victory single-handed. Now, Ogma by far is one of the most unique, interesting monsters in the entire Monster Legends game. He also has a super nice design. I really like this monster, and what's unique about him are his skills. There is no other monster like him, and I'm going to be analyzing that. But first off, to his stats. His power boasts 3,267. Now, that's actually pretty average for light monsters. His life, 29,255. That also seems really high, but in terms of light monsters, they tend to be pretty tanky, so this is actually on the low end. He's like the bottom fourth of all the light monsters in terms of life. His speed, on the other hand, 3,454. That's actually a really nice speed. In terms of light monster, that's the second highest speed, actually tied with Lux. So he's really fast, so that is awesome considering his skills. They synergize well with his high speed. And of course, he's a light monster like I've been mentioning. Therefore, his weakness is metal, and his trait, a trait we don't see too often, immune to instant death, or it gives immunity to instant death skills. So I personally think this skill is really fitting for a monster like this godlike monster who can't die instantly from attacks, so that's awesome. And we're going to be moving on to his skills. So we start off with Oghma Sword, which there isn't nothing too impressive about this. 25 damage, 0 cooldown, you know the default skills. Oghma Light also deals low damage, 30 damage, 0 cooldown. Again, nothing too interesting. What I want to talk about a lot is his special. Like, this gives an indication of how amazing his skills are going to be. Just check this out. It even has an awesome name, the Unstoppable Force. Let's look at that. Recovers 50% life, 50% stamina, adds a 50% life shield, and gives double damage to all allies. So that is 4 different buffs for your teammates. That's phenomenal. That's crazy good. So double damage is crazy. Imagine if you get this on the first. I mean, it would help on the first turn, but even like in the middle of a game, to give all your monsters double damage, to recover their lives 50%, that's most likely going to be giving their life all the way to max. But even then, if you think about it, a 50% life recovery plus a 50% shield, that's almost like you're getting 100% life for 2 turns. That's awesome. And then you get stamina recovered 50%. That's so good. Ogma by far has one of my favorite specials in the whole entire game. Moving on to skills group 1, we have Blinding Cut. Nothing too special about this skill, 50% chance to blind the target. Moved on to Dazing Shock, that sounds like it's gonna daze, and that's exactly what it does. Again, a 50% chance to daze, nothing too special about that. Spiritual Intervention, removes debuffs, mini shield to a single ally. So again, I personally don't think this skill is good. Now skills group 2 and 3 is where this monster skills are at. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, you can probably choose any combination, any 4 skills from the following 6 skills, and you're gonna have a pretty good monster. And there's different builds for him. You can make him defensive, you can make him offensive, you can make him a hybrid, and I'm gonna try my best to go through all of them, but I might even miss out some parts because he's, like I said, he's one of those monsters that you can mix the runes, mix the skills, and he's still a really good monster. So we start things off with Blessing Slice. Deals heavy special damage, becomes immune to possession, burn, and blindness for 3 turns, and it has a 3 turn cooldown. Now what I like about this skill is that you get immunity to blind, which, if you know, having your accuracy reduced is one of the worst things that can happen to you in the game. And you also get immunity to burn, which also reduces your life by like 15% for either 3 or 4 turns. So you really don't want those negative effects on you. Immune to possession, I really don't think it's that important. And the reason I say that is because unlike stun or freeze, where you lose your turn, immunity to possession, at least you can still have the opportunity to recharge. So in that regard, immune to possession, yes, it's good, but at the same time, you as a player, you can always recharge, so you don't really need that. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to be comparing Blessing Slice to his skill from skills group 3, Consecration Slash. Now, so we have Slice and we have Slash. Let's see the difference. Deals heavy light damage. Well, that's interesting. It says in the description, it says deals heavy light damage, and it shows a special. I'm pretty sure it's special from what I can remember from when I use them. So deals heavy special damage is what I think it should read. Becomes immune to nightmares, poison, freeze for 3 turns. Now, being immune to poison and freeze, I don't really care too much about that. Poison a little because you lose 19% of your power, so it's good to have an immunity to poison. But the really good thing about this skill is that it gives immunity to freeze, which you 100% want, because as you know, you can be frozen and then frozen again and frozen again. There's no cool off period like with stun. So it's really good to have immunity to freeze. This will allow you to be able to support your teams with his other attacks. Which moves us on to his Holy Shield attack, or more like Holy Shield defense. Gives a shield that gives immunity against water, metal, magic, nature attacks for 2 turns. So look at that, it obviously does no damage. It's only 28 stamina, a 3 turn cooldown, but you basically get immunity to water, metal, magic, and nature for 2 turns. So you might already know this, but the reason this shield is really good is because in terms of team war, let's say you have common, magic, and light. Well, you're going to be able to use Ogma, and you're going to be able to start off the game with like Holy Shield, give your monsters immunity to magic, and therefore all you have to do is focus on using your own magic monster to immobilize his light monster, whoever he's using, and that way you can try to protect your common. So this is why his shield is good. And comparing this to Divine Shield, which is from skills group 3, it gives a shield that gives immunity for light, thunder, fire, and earth. Now if you ask me, I say Divine Shield is the better of the 2 skills. And the reason Divine Shield is better is because if you notice, it gives immunity to light, right? Which is of course his own element. So by using that, you're giving, again, in terms of team war, by giving yourself immunity to light, you know your opponent is also going to have a light monster, so that's really good. But even better, it gives immunity to thunder, which basically means monsters like Voltic specifically and Xyla, they can spam their attacks all they want and you're gonna be good. I mean, Voltic still has his electrodynamic assault, so that can be quite a problem, but you're still good because that does really low damage. And if you notice, you also get immunity to fire and earth, which tend to be attacker monsters. Earth, I mean, they're kind of like tanky, but they also deal some damage, so it's really good to have this. Whereas Holy Shield, if you notice, water monsters, they tend to freeze a lot, metal monsters tend to be attackers, magic monsters, they tend to give lots of effects, you know, debuffs and buffs, and nature monsters tend to be healers. So I don't know if you really need so much of as a shield against these elements. I mean, of course there are attackers within each element. Water has the blob, nature has the judgment, so I still think both shields are good. My Ogma personally runs both shields. However, if you really wanted to choose one, I say you could go with Divine. But again, this monster, he has so many different skill sets that are usable, so you have to pick and choose your own. And now we move on to his final 2 skills. Revered Punishment deals low light damage to all enemies. I have no idea why this is low light damage. When you look at that, it's 45 damage, and look at that, it's only 2 turn cooldown. And compare that to his other skill, Devoted Punishment, and this deals moderate special damage. Regardless of that, 45 damage, 30 stamina, 2 turn cooldown. They're the exact same moves, except this one is special element and this one is light element. And this is the reason why Ogma can serve as an attacker. Can you imagine just spamming either of these moves back to back? You're good to go. That's 45 damage. Even though his power isn't one of the highest in the game, it still can deal crazy damage considering he has 2 AoE moves that are 45 damage. So now you're probably wondering, what is the best skill set and what is the best runes for him? And like I said early on, you can combine any 4 skills from skills group 2 and 3 and you're gonna be good to go, which means you're gonna have to use runes that fit whatever skill set you choose. So I'm gonna discuss 3 main skill sets that come to mind, and the first of which is the skill set I use. It's Holy Shield, Divine Shield, Devoted Punishment, and Consecration Slash. And the reason I use these is because Consecration Slash gives me immunity to freeze. So let's say I go up against a monster like, let's say it's Team Wars and I go up against water, right? Yes, I can start off with Holy Shield and give myself immunity to water attacks, but that still doesn't stop me from being frozen. So I have to start off by giving myself an immunity to frozen, and then I can go on to protect my monsters with either water. It depends what the other elements are, of course. Like water, you don't really need to defend too much against, again, because most water monsters will tend to have all speed runes, which means they're gonna have their base attack, which basically means they won't deal a lot of damage to you. If you go up against thunder, which means I guarantee you the enemy is probably gonna have a Voltic, you're probably gonna want to start off with Divine Shield, of course. And the reason I use Devoted Punishment over Revered Punishment is because I just like that neutral special damage that doesn't have an elemental weakness to it. So that's my skill set. And as far as runes go, it's a really difficult question to answer. So I guess the best way to answer that is the most dangerous monsters you have to worry about are attackers. If you're facing Voltic or Xyla, I guarantee you they're probably gonna have a stamina rune a strength rune, and a speed rune. That is the usual build. Very rarely will I see a Voltic with 2 speed and 1 stamina, but it does happen. So for that reason, you could probably get away with just doing 1 speed rune that is equal to Voltic, because Ogma's base speed is higher than Voltic's base speed and higher than Xyla's base speed. So as long as you have 1 speed rune on this monster, you're good to go. So you're good with 1 speed rune and 2 strength, and that's what you can capitalize on punishment and slash over here to deal a lot of damage, because you really just need to be fast enough to use your shield once, and then you need to be strong enough to deal damage, which 55 damage here and a 45 AoE, that's a lot of damage. Keep in mind that the shield will protect you for 3 turns. Now of course the tricky thing is with slash, you need your immunity to freeze right away, so that would say, so you could potentially also run all speed runes, but then you're also not going to deal lots of damage. So that's what the tricky thing about this monster is. You need to try to find a balance, and it's really hard. So another skill set you can do is you can say, forget about protecting your monsters, forget about shields, and just go with power. To which I would say, well, use Revered Punishment so you can get that elemental advantage over dark monsters. You use Devoted Punishment just to have another 45 damage AoE. You use Slash, and you use Divine Shield. And even though I'm saying forget about defense, the reason you want shield is just in case you go up against a Voltic or a Xyla. Like, those monsters will kill you instantly, so to protect your team, that's still super amazing even for an attacker. And you go 2 strength runes, 1 speed, so again that's to gain the advantage over Xyla and Voltic. And another skill set you can do is just to pick everything except both punishment skills, and that way you're like a full immunity person. You're like a monster that's full of all these different immunities. So you can start off with Slash, give yourself the immune to freeze, go on to Slice and give yourself immunity to possession. You're prepared for every different scenario, which is what this skill set is, you know, the Holy Shield, the Divine Shield, the Slash, the Slice. You're building a monster who's immune to everything. And on this monster, you could either do 3 speed, or you can do 2 speed and 1 life. And I know a lot of people don't like life, but again, you're building a monster that's made to defend your whole team, so he needs to stay alive. So Blessing Slice in case you need yourself an blind immunity, burning immunity, immune to possession. You know, if you have a life rune, those burning and that burning will really take a lot of life out of you. So to give yourself burning immunity is really good. The other skills I already talked about why they're good. And the problem with this build though is that you're not really going to be able to deal lots of damage. You have at best 255 single hits that have a 3-turn cooldown. So like I said, this monster, he's really unique in that there's so many different pathways you can go with him. There's so many different ways, so many different skills and runes you can choose, and there is no definite best. So I talked about 3 different skills and runes, but you can probably come up with some other combinations. However, the one thing I did notice is the one thing that stays constant is you 100% you want to run Divine Shield, because that is like your ultimate defense for Xyla and Voltic. Now getting away from Team Wars for a bit, and in terms of what team this monster fits in best, again, that depends on how you make his build. If you make him an attacker, you still need someone to immobilize right away. If you make him a defender, then even then you need someone to immobilize. I mean, most teams follow a consistent pattern of main immobilizer, main attacker, and then like a third monster that is either a hybrid or another attacker or another supporter. And that's basically how every team goes. So depending on those skills and runes you choose for Ogma, that's how you know where to plug him in to your team, and that's where he'll fit best. So that's it for my analysis on Ogma. Looking back, I feel that it was a little all over the place just because of how diverse this monster is. So let me know in the comments below if this analysis was helpful, because I honestly do feel like it was all over the place. And if it was, I have no problem with making another analysis on Ogma, maybe an updated of version 2.0 once I gather more information on him and see what other people think. It's kind of like Metalhead, in which, what do I do with this monster? Do I make him a deny monster? Do I make him an attacker? But in Ogma's sense, it's like, do I make him a defender or do I make him a attacker? It's hard to choose. So let me know what you guys want. Let me know what you guys thought of the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be making a second analysis coming up later today, so I'll see you guys then.